Good afternoon, everyone. We will be getting underway in just a few minutes now, probably 3 to 4 minutes, giving everyone a chance to join. So if you want to grab a good coffee or glass of water, now's the time to do so. All right. Um, Good afternoon, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me there. We'll be getting underway shortly, just in a minute or two. But just to start us off with a little bit of housekeeping. My name's William. I'm going to be your presenter. We're going to be running through Workflow Wonders today, or as it was otherwise known, streamlining your day with workflows. In the chat today, you can see we've got Alison there. Alison's going to be answering your questions if you've got any, so do feel free to throw them through to us. If you can use the Q&A chat to do so, so other people can see what questions were asked and what was answered, that would be great. We really do appreciate that. I'll also be asking just a couple of quick questions through polls today, just to get a bit of feedback from you guys as we get underway. So I have a bit of an understanding of, well, who we're talking to. And the overall webinar today is not going to be too long. I expect maybe 30 minutes, maybe a bit less. But with that said, let's kick this off with a quick poll. And here we go. So I've just got 4 questions on this poll here, and feel free to answer that. I'm just looking to see how long you guys have been with cloud, along with a little bit of information about how you feel you use your console workflows at this point in time. All right, I can see we've got a few answers coming in there. Most of you, 1 to 2 years, a few older ones there, quite a couple of people who are brand new to cloud. Most of you feel fairly confident, about 50% of you feel confident with your workflow. At least one person there is certain that they know it better than I do. I don't doubt that at all. Yep, most of you using automation, and most of you have set up your templates. So that's good. Cool. So that's going to cover quite a bit of what we're going to go through today. Just going to end the poll there, and we'll get underway. So by way of an agenda, what we're going to work through today is what I want to have a look at are some workflow features that you can use to help streamline your day. And we're going to touch on about 5 different workflows today. So it's going to be high level. I want to touch on the console automation that's in the system, that what you can set up right now. And I want to talk about it alongside a discussion around the SMS and email templates that are in there to open up those options to you so that you can use them your way, if that's what you need there. With that said, let's share console. Here we go. So hopefully what you're seeing on screen there is my console cloud in the Reaper training office. And we're going to kick this off, obviously with a workflow, but where I want basically one of the things that used to, and it, not just specific to lease renewals, but one of the things that used to really kind of grind my gears when I was a PM was all all the little tasks and the little processes that needed to be followed along a long litany of different processes across a various different aspects of the property management business and what you need to do there. And processes themselves are absolutely fantastic, and you have to have them in order to do your job, but you'd get interrupted midway through something and you would end up losing track of where you're up to. What I want to talk about today with some of these workflows is how they can help you with peace of mind, taking care of something at a click of a button that you can then come back to. And it's a big part of where I think Console Cloud shines. As peace of mind is something that we can all use. With that said, where I want to start today is with a workflow I have no doubt most people are familiar with. However, I want to talk about it, and that is the lease renewal workflow and the owner and tenant intention email. So starting, I'm going to use 2 Edward Street here as my example. And if we come through here, we've got obviously the tenant and the owner intention email. And for those that are familiar with this, you'll know that I actually expect most people are familiar with this and they have an understanding of what it does. But I want to talk about it from a point of view of having a look at it in action. So let's propose our new rent. We're going to put in for a 12-month lease term. That's what we're going to suggest here. And when we click next, this is going to bring up a template email that sits within the system. And this is one of those ones where I do really like to point out that every template you see within the system every email you see in the system, I should say, has a template that can be edited and customized to match what you want it to say. Now this one here is just a default one, so I haven't updated this one, but the reason why I want to raise this template specifically is it does have a unique function where there is a form that can be filled out, so that's what this one here looks like, by the owner once they receive that, and that will feed back into the system. I'm just going to click send here. And that one's going to go out to my owner. Now I've got one that I prepared earlier, so I'm just going to click this here. It's for this 6 Grove Road property up the top. And this is it here, where when my owner receives this, they'll have the option to provide me with instructions or simply just to agree with my recommendation that was in the email I've just sent through to them. So let's just say in this case, they would like to renew that and they've sent me back instructions. Simple, let's just keep it a simple please proceed. Thank you. And submit. They just get a quick thank you there. That's all that they need to do. And that will feed back into my system here. So if I give this a quick refresh, so that when I come through to my lease renewal workflow, I can see that this here has been updated. I can click on this filter to quickly bring that to the fore. And I can see in here that that has come through as renew, along with the please proceed. Thank you. Giving me those instructions to then take my next steps. Where we see this little piece of automation, this little piece of streamlining helping out in the day-to-day with the PM is in taking that extra step out of your workflow of needing to then update this as it comes back through. You get that automatic update into the system, and it's something that you can quickly see through here. Additionally, you get that feed through to here so you can see exactly what any comments or instructions that came along with that. So it's a nice little one to set up, and it's a template that you can edit, which is always good to know. Now, the next workflow that I want to have a look at is one which I feel is quite closely related to lease renewal ones, and that is the vacate workflow. However, and I have found that the vacate workflow is often one which is slept on a little bit, as it's not one which maybe comes up. Yeah, sorry, how would I put this? It's one which I tend to find, speaking with property managers who've used the system for a while, they may or may not use this because they're used to doing things either directly through their email, maybe through a spreadsheet here and there, maybe through a whiteboard, and they don't necessarily think about using the vacate workflow. So I do want to show you some of the things it can do to help you centralize those tasks that are important to anyone who's looking to keep track of a vacate. We're going to start with this property here and just talk about some of the things that it does. Up the top, if there is no exit inspection currently scheduled for this particular property, you will always see this button here, schedule inspection. So at which point we can quickly come through, select who's going to do that. So let's assign this to Wendy and when that needs to be done. So this tenant's vacating on the 1st. So I want this done by, they'll dropping the keys off Monday morning. Let's book this in for Wendy, along with potentially any instructions that need to go along with that. By clicking schedule, that allows me to do this through the workflow in such a way that I can see that that's been recorded through here. And it drops the button off here. So at a glance, I know that that hasn't yet been scheduled. Meaning that, now the next one in here, which can be quite handy, is the tenant summary. It provides a quick summary with regards to, say, rent to the vacate date. So this tenant, 17 days until they vacate, this amount left owing, along with a water invoice that's currently outstanding and not yet paid. In here, under outstanding issues, I could put in some, maybe a reminder to, I don't know, let's go with an obvious one, return key fobs. Albeit it can be used for anything that you want to add in as an outstanding issue that you want special notice of, a special comment of. Hitting save into there puts that onto the timeline, and I can copy this onto a clipboard, which I could send out to the tenant. And this is where the idea of having a specific template in there for, now there is a template in there that acknowledges receipt of a vacate. And I've edited my template. So vacate notice of intention to leave. I've edited my template. So I've got this info section here, which is asking me to insert the tenant summary. If I don't put that in there, because I put insert in, I can't accidentally send this out till such time as I either remove that or copy that into there based off what I put in over there. Clicking send will send that out to the tenant with relevant instructions. I do also have the option, of course, to put in I can change the vacate date through here. I can record a rental reference so that there's a centralized place where people can come and find rental references for vacating tenants, as well as I can put in notes, and the finalize button through here just gives me a quick checklist and the ability to quickly finalize this and make the tenant inactive so that I'm not clicking around the tenancy. And that's really one of the things I want to highlight about the vacate workflow is it's designed to centralize a few key tasks into one location where you can come and check to see if they've been done at a glance. And if you were interrupted mid-process, you'd be able to come back through to here and just pick up from where you were, or someone could step in and do it for you, knowing what you've done already. That's where you can help streamline the process using the workflow, this particular workflow. One of the other things that I do tend to see in the vacate workflow, which is a handy thing to keep in mind, and let's just say we're looking at some of the tenancies here where they may have been in here for a while, you can always come through and see why they're still active. And there may be notes in here, such as, the XCAT hearing is booked for July 1st, 2024. Which point everyone knows at a glance why this tenancy is still in here and still active. All right. Now that's a bit more of your streamlined side of things. Now let's have a look at some of the automation that we can set up in console. And console automation is definitely something that I encourage everyone to get into and have a look at if they're looking to save some time during the day. I'm going to start with arrears, and I suspect most of you have looked at or already set up your console arrears automation, as it is arguably one of the ones which most people, you have to do arrears, and setting up your automation, just something that I find people do. That said, I still like to talk about it as it's a good idea to come through and see if your original setup that you might have put in place could use some revisions, or could use potentially some changes that you might want to put in place. By the way, let's set up a new one here. So when you are popping in your arrears automation, obviously come through here, turn it on, just turn it on. But let's edit this. One of the things to always consider, what time of day your arrears is going out. Want to make sure it's after your receipting has been done. And I know we're 7 months away, 8 months away from Christmas. And I'm sure someone can correct me on that. This is actually one that I would recommend turning off around that time of year, keeping in mind it's going to continue to work even if your trust accountants aren't. Either way, we've got the time of day in there. There's two different methods we can use. We can go with a daily SMS, which I find some people prefer, whereby it just sends an arrears SMS, starting at 1 day in arrears, going through to whatever your preference is here, and on whatever days of the week you would like to send that out, depending on how you want to communicate. Another reminder, this is using a template in the system that you can edit. The other option, and I'll be honest, I find most of my clients prefer to use a more customizable version, which is this one here. I've only got a single email going out at this point in time, but it's easy to add in a whole sequence of them. And I can set up when I want these to go. And this is one which I would suggest is a good one, in particular if you've been using the system for a few years, to come back through and review how it's set up. As it's something that if you find a gap in here or potentially maybe have a look at it and think, no, that's out of date, that's a good idea to keep, refresh it if need be. That said, it's easy enough to set up. Once you're sure you know what you need to do, you can come through and configure it based off the messages that you want to send. And of course, each one of these email and SMSs are templated and can be set up to use your tone and your language. Either way, hitting save pops that in there. And for our premium users, you can also set up a invoice or automatic invoice arrears through here as well. All right. And quite frankly, this one for me was always just a peace of mind setup because it meant that I knew that day 3 rolls around, I don't need to chase everyone who's just forgotten, or it might just be taking too long to clear. System's going to do that for me, and leaving me to chase those where I already know that I'm going to be chasing them. Okay. Next one I want to talk about is our compliance automation. And the compliance automation I find is quite often a bigger conversation than simply just let's set this up so it can help us out. As if you don't have your compliance automation set up, it's usually quite often because you may not be using the system for compliance just yet, or there might be, say, something to consider there. But I want to talk about it all the same, as it's a little bit, there's more to read here, there's more to sort of unpack. And I find so some cases people look at it and they go, I'm not sure what it's doing, so I'm not sure I want to set it up. So let's talk about everything that this particular piece of automation is doing. Right up the top, really all this is telling us here is when the compliance item is going to show up in the list over here, 30 days beforehand. There's no other option. That's just what it's going to do. So that in itself is not something we can change. The important parts start from here down. So you do need, as part of the automation, of course, you must set up when it's going to send that first reminder to the assigned company or person for that compliance item. I've mine set to 60 days beforehand, and it's going to go out at 9:30 in the morning, which means it's going to send a message to the owners, if they're responsible, to a creditor or to a body corporate, depending on who's been assigned to the compliance item. And again, we can check out all of the templates through here if we wanted to see what that looks like. And if we wanted to change something, we can edit that through the system as well. We'll talk more about that at the end. I can also set this up so there's an automatic reminder sent out if the certificate has not yet been returned. If the certificate's been returned and it's been updated, this won't trigger, of course. You do have the option though to turn this off, and I find some people like to turn this off as they may have quite a few creditors which are known for returning their certificates very, very late, and they decide that it's better off to have this off and that they will follow that themselves. So you have that option there. In this case though, I'm going to have this set so it sends a message out to the assigned owner, creditor, or body corporate a week before. The final little bit of automation down the bottom here are just some nice to haves that you can turn on if you want them. Top one will send any Pool and Spa compliance certificates to tenants once that has been completed. Second one will send smoke alarm compliance certificates to owners where that's completed by a creditor. Obviously, if the owner is responsible for that themselves, it's not going to send it to them. That would be a bit redundant. And the final one here just automatically finalizes the compliance item when you upload a new certificate and update the dates, which is important because you have the bulk update function through update details here, where you could upload multiple files, and so long as that compliance item is against that particular property. So if we just select a quick file here, so let's go 12 Garden Street. Whoops, no, I must have completed that compliance item. 10 Grove. This one here will do. Selecting the compliance item from the drop down, we can see that's there. At the point at which I update this, so let's push that out there. Let's just say that was completed here-ish. At the point at which this has been updated, this is going to automatically finalize that, and that will then show up next year. So I have nothing further to do other than to update this through here. And if you're working with, say, an assistant that is managing this for you, or maybe you're working with a VA team or something along those lines, where part of their job is to do this, it's really bulletproof with the way that it updates. Upload the certificate, update the dates, finalizes the item, comes up next year. It really minimizes the amount of work that you need to do. It's a great way of streamlining that whole process, because my memory of this back in the day was spreadsheets after spreadsheets after spreadsheets. And there was always something that got missed. So this really helps minimize the amount of work and reduce headaches. The final little the final little piece of automation here that I want to talk about is to do with inspections. Through our inspection workflow, we do have a little bit of automation here, which we can turn on, which, simply put, will send out a message to the tenant a certain amount of days before their inspection, and either by SMS or email at a specified time. Again, the template can be changed depending on what you want, but it is something that is nice and easy to set up. Also, only sends if the entry notice has been sent. So if you do not send the entry notice, it does not send a reminder. So you've got that peace of mind there that it's not going to accidentally tell tenants that you're turning up for an inspection if you have not actually sent them anything. And that finally brings us around to the templates. And I feel like I've been harping on about them a little bit as we've been going through today, but I do like to, because I find that templates within Console Cloud are really easy to edit and are a great way of maximizing your use of the workflows. A good example of this, and let's just take the SMS template for the inspection as an example. So I'm just going to find it first. So we're just going to come through to inspections here. And we can see I've got inspections in here. I'm looking for the inspection reminder. So this will be this one here. Let's just edit that. Simple little template here, letting the tenant know that there is a reminder that a specific assigned inspector will be intending for a routine inspection at a certain date between certain times. That's just the SMS there. But it's easy to come through and personalize that. So if you wanted to put in, say, the office details, so I could just put in Rupert Realty here as a sign off, or I could potentially put in additional information, including say the office phone number, business name, the property manager, so pop the property manager's name into there. So we know that maybe Wendy's going out to inspect that, but I'm the property manager, so it's going to have my sign off there. Maybe, and say updating that there can be a simple way of adding a little bit of point of difference to the way that that communicates. Obviously, the language can be changed as well, but that's just updated that, and maybe that was all I needed to change so that I could optimize that template to work better for the way I wanted to communicate to my tenants and my owners as well. Because a reminder, there are a lot of owner templates in here as well. Now, any changes that you do make, of course, can be reverted. So where it is a system template, you can't delete a system template, but you can always revert it back to the system default. So if you decide that you want to start from scratch on a template, you can do so. With that said, though, let's stop to check to see, is there any questions in chat? No, we're all very, very quiet. That's good to hear. Hopefully that means that what I've been going through has been making sense. All right, well, that was what I wanted to go through today. And just a quick recap, I guess. What we wanted to highlight was that workflows are designed to help you keep track of your key tasks and to streamline your processes so that you're not working all over the place, but you can try to bring it all in together. Makes it easier to come back to a task. It makes it easier to follow up on tasks that others have done. There is a lot of automation in the system. Some of that can be configured by yourself, and that's some of the workflow related ones I've gone through today. And it's a good reminder that if you're looking at a workflow and you're unsure as to whether or not you want to use it just yet, that it can make it a lot easier if you decide what your communication is going to look like, because the workflow is still going to work and you can make it personalized to you. Also, I do want to mention that we do have more workflow webinars coming. We've got arrears and compliance coming up in August. We're doing lease renewals and vacates in September, inspection workflows in October, maintenance workflows in November, so about once per month up over the next few months. And from the question mark in the system, click on webinars. You can go through there and register for those. And it's a good, honestly, great idea to come in and have a look at them. And I'm going to finish up just with a quick poll here. It's going to launch that there. I'd like to know what I'd like to know what your takeaway was from today. And genuinely, we want to know if you're interested in getting more workflow content, as the intention is with these upcoming workflows is to do a more deep dive into them, have a bit of a look at some of the maybe more advanced users as well. Well, definitely some of the more advanced users. And that's where we can spend some time focusing on a specific niche and corner of the system there. Also, Alison has popped a link into chat. Thank you guys all for turning up today. And it's just a link to a survey for this particular webinar. We'd love to hear back from you with how you found it. And we'll definitely, hopefully see you on one in the future.